Welcome to Sun Tzu, The Art of NIMBY. This is my new series that's going to provide you with modern day strategies, tactics, and best practices that will help you reduce the risks of NIMBY conflicts regardless of whatever industry you're working in. So I'm going to ask you to put on your thinking cap and join me on a journey to acquire a strategic mindset that will help you defeat NIMBYism. Hey, Patrick Slevin here. Great to have you on this channel and part of this series. Sun Tzu inspired this series. Sun Tzu was a Chinese general and strategist who wrote a book over 2,000 years ago titled The Art of War. What this is really about with the art of war and the art of NIMBY is really dawning on a strategic mindset. For too long, the industry, many developers, and I don't care what industry we're talking about, they have a strategy of what? Flying under the radar, right? Let's just not try to kick up any dirt. Let's just try to avoid any kind of mishaps, because not every project is going to be opposed, right? But there's always going to be eventually a project that does come under attack. And by the time the NIMBY hits the fan, it's usually too little too late, or at least you're on defense and you're being reactive and hardly strategic for sure. And so with Sun Tzu and the art of NIMBY, I want to be able to bring you above the fray and from C-suite to City Hall successfully preempt and neutralize NIMBYism. So we look at Sun Tzu and his writings, and he has one of his most famous quotes that will really be an underpinning for this series and also the kickoff of this video. And let's bring it up on the screen. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. So what's Sun Tzu talking about here? Well, first off, you need to know who your enemy is, right? And if you don't, you're going to at least lose half the battles that you try to engage. And so let's talk about NIMBY then. NIMBY is widely known, it's infamous, but it's really vaguely understood. And this series is going to lift the veil of what those profiles look like, because there's many different kind of opponents who are saying not in my backyard. You have neighbors who are motivated by fear, who I call champions. You have environmentalists out there protecting whatever it is their mission, and guess what? They have dues paying members that they have to keep happy. And so your project, your upcoming application is a prize target to raise their profile. You also have what I call godfathers and Machiavellians that have different kinds of motivations and different kinds of influence that could undermine your project. So this series is really going to understand the enemy, as Sun Tzu calls it, and really getting into their profiles. And guess what? Once you start understanding the opposition better, then you can start identifying the patterns of attacks, the patterns of crisis, the patterns of risk, and in exposing a notice and hearing process that is really geared against the applicant or the developer. And so we start transitioning in the series and understanding about you, the company, about you, the developer and the executive and the land development professional. All the above, okay? Because once you start understanding the enemy, or the opposition in this case, you really start understanding some of the deficits that you have in your corporate culture, your corporate policies, and your corporate practices. And when we get into this series, you'll understand that only empowers and emboldens the opposition even more. So as we go through this series, we're not only going to have a better appreciation of the opposition and what causes the opposition to be so successful in creating conflict, but also how you can be a better corporate citizen as you're trying to get the license to operate with more improved strategies, tactics, and best practices that are very consistent with the other elements of your corporation when you're looking at corporate social responsibility, cause marketing, your public relations, marketing, etc. So let me tell you the primary secret that you need to know to kick off this series and to leave this video today. And that secret is conflict. The opposition cannot succeed in defeating you and your projects without conflict. And understanding this perspective, this strategic perspective, will empower you and have a cause and effect as how you engage the community moving forward and engage the opposition moving forward. Because long story short, without conflict, there is no crisis. When there's no crisis, your project is not under political duress, right? Because we have elected officials, especially during election years, that count the votes in City Hall, and the legal is trumped by the political, and we all know that. So by avoiding that is understanding strategically, how do we prevent the conflict from happening? And a case in point would be town hall meetings. So usually when a NIMBY hits the fan, the knee-jerk reaction is to do a town hall meeting to appease the opposition and appease and assuage the elected officials who are pressuring you to do something. So what happens at these town hall meetings? Well, they turn into Jerry Springer episodes. You're just giving a platform for more conflict, and now you have the media watching this too, and now you have this David and Goliath genre that's out there, and it's just a compounding crisis. And who decided to do it? 9 times out of 10, it's the town hall meeting and the applicant. There's better ways of doing this, and this is what the series is going to focus on. So your takeaway right now is looking at there's a bigger picture. You have more control over the fate of your projects, where you can have a continuity and a consistency of practices, not only for one project in one region, but across the market share that is your corporate interests. And we're going to look at all facets here, of not only the opposition, but also the notice and hearing process, how to deal with the media, how to promote yourself in digital media space, which is very big. The social media, Facebook is the primary weapon now of opposition in many of the industries, but also looking at your grassroots, your public affairs, your message development, what to do with the website, also your third-party advocates, your endorsers, your community leaders who want to support your project. So how do you turn your allies into assets and advocates? So this series is really going to go into a lot of those facets. And so I'm hoping that we build a relationship of trust and have an interaction, and that at the end of the day empowers you to be more effective in winning more projects. When you're winning more projects that have less delays, less disruptions, and less defeats, that's going to save millions of dollars. And isn't that worth a few minutes? So if you were interested in the book, which as you can see over my shoulder and also here, I do have it on my website, patrickslevin.com. At the book tab, I'll have the link in the comment section of my YouTube. And I look forward to talking to you more about the art of NIMBY and how you can be a Sun Tzu controlling the fate of your project. Thank you for being with me here today. Talk to you soon.